Hey everybody, it's Avenged Decay here, and here's my review on Ghost of Tsushima. First, I want to point out that this game is probably the most beautiful game I think I've ever seen. With the most beautiful open world game I've ever seen. And I've played a lot of open world games, but nothing stands even close to the interesting settings, designs, and choices that have been executed here. It just feels so good just to like look at the environment, the leaves falling, different colored trees. And another thing I gotta say is this combat is brutal in a good way. It definitely takes like a lot of inspiration off of other games like Neo and Sekiro and Assassin's Creed, which in all honesty I think this game does a better job at feeling like an Assassin's Creed than Assassin's Creed does anymore. And it just feels good to go back into that type of, I guess, genre of games. I don't know if you can consider Assassin's Creed as a genre. If it was its own genre, probably not. But it has both a lot of like stealth mechanics and combat mechanics that feel really similar, but polished a lot better, and I feel like it's a lot more fast-paced and also requires a lot of skill and precision and reaction time, especially when you're parrying. Other people also compare the combat sort of similar to For Honor, but I don't really see it all that much. I kind of do, but I don't know. I think that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. But I digress. Moving on. Surprisingly, the characters are actually really strong. And that's just something I just don't see in a lot of games lately, is character development lacks a little bit. Like, I feel like there's just not enough of one character. And usually they always focus on the main character, but it's interesting and different to see that every character is just as much involved as the main character is. And you have characters like Lord Sharuma, or Sharuma. I can't fucking pronounce. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to butcher his name. Just I'm not really good at saying Japanese names. Shomura. I'm just gonna go with that. Is your sensei or your uncle, and you are also part of the Sake clan, who is an ancient clan that sought to protect Tsushima. And you've been granted the leadership to be a lord. And that's all I'm gonna say because of spoilers. Because it does get more interesting than that. I gotta say though, I feel like this does a good job in representing what happened in the Mongolian War while keeping things a little bit different and fresh and new, rather than recycling the idea over and over again. I feel like they did a good job trying to change the sort of outcome and story and manipulate it a little bit, but still keeping the love and attention and detail of the legend still there. Which is nice. There's also other characters like Yuna, Taka, and Moscow, all with really good character motives as they try to help Jin succeed redemption and take back Tsushima as their own. And also, you also have your friend named Rusko, which again, he's despite his lack of appearance, I still feel like his motives were pretty human, which is what I like. I like how all of them have similar. They all want the same thing, but some stir deeper and deeper than they should be stirred. They both do it in a different way and both think differently. So I really do honestly like the fact that we have character conflict more than once and more than one main character, if that makes any sense. Because we've always seen the main character have conflicts, but we've never seen like every character in a game have a similar conflict, only a different outcome, sort of thing. Again, it sounds kind of hard to explain, but trust me, you'll come to love it. Come to love it later on. The story is absolutely amazing. There wasn't one moment where I was getting bored of the story. I feel the story is the strongest part of this game, next to the combat. Which, to have two positives in one is a really good thing. Now, I might get hate for this, but I feel like Witcher 3's gameplay wasn't really all that interesting and wasn't really trying to be its own thing. I mean, maybe it was, but I just felt like it was very generic and simplistic, and it wasn't really going anywhere deeper than that. Here, I can really appreciate that they tried to do a good job at making good, solid gameplay, as well as a good story. Now, I'm not comparing this game to Witcher 3, as it is nothing like Witcher 3, but if you're talking about story quality-wise, I think it definitely does hit the spot. I think this probably has the best revenge story I've ever seen in a video game, or just a revenge story in anything non-comic related. As it just furthers, it distances itself from just one person having revenge and having multiple people having revenge. And as I said, the combat is nice and very fluid. I like how fluid it is and how much it stirs away from the Dark Souls feel and tries to be its own thing. On top of that, there's also similar stealth mechanics in previous Assassin's Creed games, which is nice to see, as well as I never realized how much I missed the old Assassin's Creed until I started playing this game. There's also a lot of customization, which, I mean, is good, and the fact that you can also see the customization during the cutscenes definitely adds replay value. As you can see, there's like different customizations for your character and as well as upgrades for your person. Collectibles are kind of interesting. If you want lore, you may not find lore. I don't know. I can't say that because I never actually looked at my collections menu. But yeah, there's just plenty of things to do in this game with plenty of side missions. Some good, some bad, some neutral. But it definitely does help with the fact that the gameplay is so rewarding and delivers such a unique experience that we haven't experienced since Dark Souls or Sekiro, if that makes any sense. And this game knows what it wants to be, and I do commend it for that.
I hope it helps.
I think games should always distance themselves from being too generic and basic. While this game does take a lot of influence off of other games, they sort of change it and alter it a bit. Performance-wise, I think this game actually does a really good job. I mean, I'm not on a 4K. I'm not playing on a 4K TV or PS4 Pros, which is pretty surprising, to say the least. I think the game actually does run very well. Some of the side missions in this game are actually pretty unique, creative, and just overall fun. And I kind of like that there's more to do than just side missions. That's why I like games like GTA 5, because there was so much, like, you had like different selections like tennis, golf, and so on. And it's kind of the same thing behind the lines of this game. They have a lot of interesting, points of interest, such as fox dens, which basically you see a fox, you follow it, and then it brings you to a shrine that you can pray towards, and in return you get more charm slots, which, if you don't know what charms are, they're basically like these modifiers that grant players, like, the player, like, I guess, upgrades to their character, whether it's more defense, more attack, more damage dealt, or the mythic charms, which are basically like really rare charms that give you like increased, I guess, increases your sword damage, or how much resolve you gain. And, the stuff like that. Regeneration, health regeneration. There's also these things called shrines, which basically they are like parkour type objectives, which really do take a lot of inspiration from Assassin's Creed's parkour system, and it takes it to its full advantage. And I think it's pretty different and pretty unique, and I kind of like it. As it does test your parkour skills in a lot of ways. And also and your reward for completing them is a charm. Which again is the same things what I told you about. And then there's bamboo strikes that give you sort of like this Mortal Kombat test your might type challenge, where you need to press a handset of like a handset of buttons at a certain time, and you need to do it in straight precision accuracy. And you also have the limited time to use those input buttons, or to, use those input buttons that the challenge commands, sort of thing. It's actually really frustrating. At least that was like the most frustrating thing for me. And then you have your typical side missions, which nothing really special there. Your Mongolian camps, which are sort of give you that, which is sort of like that, the Far Cry gimmick, where you're given a camp and you gotta liberate them, and gotta kill enemies and then kill the leader in order to liberate them, and then end up being a safe house. And as well as Mythic Tales. Now, Mythic Tales, I think, is probably like the more interesting side missions. The ones that are going to be like a lot different than your typical side missions. Those are sort of... Those are based pretty much sort of like the... Again, it's similar to Assassin's Creed's newer type games, where you're handed missions of hidden quests, or myths and legends sort of thing, where it's like the supernatural, legendary samurais, or secret equipment, items, or weaponry. That's where you're going to find a lot of your ability stances, or your sword stances. I mean, a lot of your sword stances you're going to find off of leaders, but there's some in particular that I don't call them stances. I think they're more abilities, and they give you like sword abilities as well as armor, equipment such as a flaming bow, or explosive bow, not flaming bow, my bad, explosive bow. And they're just overall really interesting. And I like the cutscene that plays, and they tell you the tale. You have this old man like telling you the tale, or the legend, and what you're finding, and it's like really, again, it's very similar to how Assassin's Creed does their games. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. My honest opinion is this game is amazing. I've never had to take in so much beauty in a game ever. I've never taken so much like times just literally sitting around doing absolutely nothing just to see the scenery. And that's why this last side mission is actually personally my favorite, because you get to see the view and everything. And they're called haikus. And basically what haiku is you basically reflect on your perseverance. And in a selection of sentences, and you try to turn them into a quote, or how can I what's the other word I'm thinking of? A memo. And you have a selection of your character, Jin Sakai, will speak to them in any way possible. Or will like say them. As well as there's also like hidden secrets, like you can also like draw your sword, which is such a cool way to draw your sword. I really like it. You can bow, play the flute, which actually turns the day of time. Which is really different. Most games only use sleep mechanics, and that one uses... And this is the first time we actually see games use that feature. Anyways, I'm going to continue. My personal opinion about this game is it's beautiful. From the red trees to the yellow trees to the rose meadows to the pink flowers to the blue flowers to the snow biome to the swamp biome to the forest biome to the lakes. You get the point. This game is eye candy for literally everyone who's in love with nature. And I really commend Sucker Punch for making a world like this. It was such a joy to experience and explore. And as well as the handcrafted story on top of this, it's too good to be true. Whether the side missions, even though the side missions are kind of just not that interesting, the mythic tales definitely do make up for it.
Show me your skill.
And as well as the combat also delivers. Never. It always delivers. There's never a dull moment in this game. From the standoffs, to the one-on-ones, to the to the intense combat, challenging encounters, the boss fights, the boss duels. There's so much to like about this game. And the story just is the icing on the cake, as it's such an original concept, but at the same time it's not trying to be anything too original. Like if they made a movie off of this, I think it would definitely compete easily. It would easily compete with Mulan, without a doubt. I can't believe that this is a video game. At times there's moments where I don't even believe that this is even a video game. I feel like at times I'm actually playing through a movie about a samurai warrior named Jin Sakai, which is incredible. But it's more than just a movie, though, because the gameplay definitely does make up for it. And also, there's also like some of my favorite moments when you like have castle sieges. It reminded me so much of For Honor, and so much hype I had with For Honor that just didn't reach its expectation. And yeah, also the side missions are really different and actually really entertaining. They didn't just use the bland old side missions. I like the fact that there's different activities. That's sort of why I like doing them, you know? And I gotta point out that I'm glad that this game did come out, because it definitely does make me want to go back into playing samurai games. Sekiro did that in a sense, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And Neo failed to do it because I just felt like it was way too repetitive. And the fact that I haven't seen a really good samurai game since this game came out, it deserves even more respect. Though the side missions aren't anything worth bragging about, I'm still going to give this game a 10 out of 10. I can't ignore the fact that it's everything I wanted in a samurai game, if not more. So yeah, that's gonna do that. That's gonna do the review for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, I'm out, guys. Peace. I'm just